Sometimes anime is art, and Princess Tutu is more so than others. If you're a fan of ballet and fairy tales, then this anime is going to be one of the best you've ever watched. I'm feeling sick, and I'm going to be on a plane in 2 days, and I just did not care to do makeup or anything, so I just need to get this video done. I just need to record. Not so subtly inspired by the Ugly Duckling and Swan Lake, this anime starts off somewhat eerie, lots of slow panning shots with internal monologue of this little duck that wants to meet a prince. Or, never mind, I guess. If you're looking for your initial trappings that anime has, this actually doesn't really have that. It's comedic plenty of times, sure, but watching this show makes me realize just how much anime relies on certain tropes nowadays. Even when it does the tropes, it's approached so much more whimsical, or maybe it's because it's not made for boys. That usually changes everything. This is one of those anime that has a bit more of a complicated story than most, and breaking down the story is going to be marginally difficult, but that's kind of my job, so here we go. This klutz is named Duck, or Ahiru if you watched the Japanese sub, because you're just cooler than everyone else. She goes to a ballerina school. White-haired anime boy is named Mytho or Muto.
Shoot, even I think I'm weird.
I don't.
Things start to look weird when their teacher turns out to be a cat, and the only one who thinks it's weird is Duck. And this is a very, very subtle hint that's going to be touched on at the very end of the anime, but means absolutely nothing right now.
If you do not focus, then I will have you marry me.
Classic fairy tale concepts are also really weird and uncomfortable sometimes, so yeah. Muto is in a weird abusive relationship with this guy named Fakir, but Fakir's also a good guy, so I don't really understand why he's such a jerk in the beginning.
On my way back, I'll borrow some books for you from the library. Don't read any except for the ones I bring. Don't give me cause to worry, you idiot.
And Duck wishes that she could help Muto some way, somehow. How lucky for her that there's this creepy guy named Drosselmeyer who's been eavesdropping and wants to help her help Muto for totally selfless means that doesn't have any ulterior motive at all. You start seeing the elements of fairy tales where time seems to just freeze when eerie and otherworldly stuff happens. I always loved that effect, and I think it's executed here very well. Then Muto jumps out of a window to save a bird for no reason, really. There is a reason. It's because he has the heart of just protecting people, but no fucking reason. And creepy guy gives Duck magic powers to save him. He keeps talking about wanting to have Duck tell him a story and is giving her the means to allow her to magical girl transform in order to get that story. And with the super speed power of ballet, she conjures a bunch of flowers to soften his fall. I'm actually surprised we don't see ballet directly incorporated into magical girl powers more often. Like, they dance, sure, but like, we see elements of it in their outfits, but not really in their powers. The magical girl gift comes with a drawback, and that is that she turns into an actual ugly duckling when she does anything duck related. And the reason why is because she actually just is a duck. I'm not joking. Okay, exposition time. Drosselmeyer wrote a fairy tale about an evil raven and a prince who were fighting, and then they said fighting all the time was lame, so they broke out of the fairy tale and the prince's heart was broken into shards for unknown reasons, and now Drosselmeyer is asking Duck to find the shards, and she'll save the prince, whom of which is the white-haired Muto boy. Not Yugi Muto, just Muto.
But remember this, if you say or do anything resembling a duck...
It's not just that Muto is in an abusive relationship, but he is also apathetic to everything. He lost his heart, so he has just no emotions whatsoever, literally. The thing I can't stand of these types of anime is just how removed it is from reality sometimes. And I get it, that's kind of the point, and that's where it goes, and it's intentional for this one, but in this stage of the beginning of the anime, you don't know that, and so it just seems like it's lazy writing. Not in the sense that I want it to be realistic. I mean, the setting doesn't really have much framing whatsoever. They're at a ballet school. Okay, where? What for? What are they trying to achieve? Is this their whole life? Or is this just a summer school? It's actually their whole life, and I'll get into the details later. It doesn't feel like Duck has a goal other than what's been given to her, which also because it's fairy tale, and I'm ad-libbing a lot from the script here, I know, but like, it all makes sense in the end. This is all intentional. The nebulousness is actually very important to the story.
I'm the feeling of bitter disappointment.
The feeling of bitter disappointment? Are you my mom?
You need to go back.
Can I go back?
That being said, I love Duck. She's exactly what, like, the kind of person I imagine when I imagine someone that's a dork.
Hello, Duck. You know I love you, don't you? I really do.
Certain episodes are inspired by other fairy tales, borrowing the elements and plot points and intertwining them into the original story of Princess Tutu. Like, they're influenced by fairy tales instead of just going through them one by one and ripping them off. And Duck has to figure out how to solve the problems they encounter in order to get the shards of the prince's heart. It's more like the heart shards are infecting the minds of the people it attaches itself to, and sometimes the person doesn't actually have any malicious intent. The battles in this anime are dance battles. Their moves and emotions conjure a magical field that make them do battle with each other, all of which are driven by the events in their life that fuel their emotions. It's all dangerous therapy sessions. For example, this woman's husband died and she's been lonely ever since, and she keeps her customers hostage, making them eat meals at her restaurant forever because the loneliness shard latched onto her and she doesn't want them to leave.
Princess Tutu.
Don't tell me he knows it's me!
This is ridiculous. That's just a story.
Huh? Tutu is part of the story too?
So you would think Fakir being an asshole is the Raven. You'd be wrong. Muto's girlfriend, Rue, also important character, seems to be aware that Muto is a prince as well, for very important reasons.
Finally have some shards of your heart back now!
Shards of his heart? You know, don't you? You know that Muto is actually a prince from inside a story.
Even though I'm upset that Duck was just an idiot, I am excited because we need a villain in this story that tries to stop her. It's actually very boring in the beginning. You can tell it's a shoujo anime because they have brooms for eyelashes. It kind of reminds me of a cutscene chaser, you know, like video games, those old games where you really just are wandering around until you find the cutscene to know that you were progressing. But it is clearly trying to create a little mystery to make the story more engaging.
That's quite some energy.
Ah, yeah, I remember my first bisexual awakening.
I'll be there too. Now go to sleep.
Yes, Fakir, thank you.
Idiot.
You're acting less like a controlling villain and more like a tsundere. The more successful Duck is with helping revive Muto's heart, the more scared Muto gets of Princess Tutu for seemingly unknown reasons. And so she wants to keep helping, but it's hard to keep going when the person she has a crush on is scared of her, even if he doesn't know that Duck is Princess Tutu. So, you know, she's down in the dumps. Rue, funny enough, doesn't care if Muto has a heart. Duck tries to convince her that it'd be better if he did, but Rue says that she just doesn't care. She'll love him anyway. It feels like she doesn't really love Muto, or she loves Muto so much that we just can't comprehend what she feels. This is the fulcrum, the linchpin of like her entire character. Pay attention to that one detail. Thanks to your help, you guys taught me that this show pulls a lot more than general themes from different fairy tales and ballet. The music and characters are even ripped straight from different ballet performances. Drosselmeyer is just straight from the Nutcracker. If you listen to the music, it's obvious that each character's background music is always from a specific ballet.
What is this? I can't catch up to him! What do I do?
Since when have you not had a heart?
Muto is always from Nutcracker. Princess Tutu is a mix of Swan Lake and whoever she's with because she's the one who's meddling with people's emotions. And in case it wasn't obvious, Princess Tutu's dress is based on Odette from Swan Lake.
If you were to disappear, I feel like that light would be snuffed out and vanish with you. That's what I fear. I want you to restore my heart.
And more references and characters from fairy tales appear in the story as it goes on. Just as Duck got a shard of heart, black feathers from Rue magically whisk it away. And here we see Rue is actually based off of the black swan Odile from Swan Lake.
Who am I?
Rue doesn't seem to know that she has an evil alter ego, as she acts like she has no memory of how she got a shard of his heart. This anime is not only heavily inspired by ballet and fairy tales, but you can think of it more like an original work combining all of these plays together. One of the animation directors who worked on Sailor Moon was also pitching Princess Tutu during her time on Sailor Moon. It's with the appearance of Princess Crahy, that of which is Rue, that the story starts to take a darker turn. This anime isn't one that stays cutesy and romantic, but instead decides to really take a hint from Shakespeare and lean into dabbling with it becoming a tragedy. Fakir now takes center stage as we slowly learn more about who he is and his motive. He goes to a mausoleum and retrieves the prince's sword and starts a blood ritual that brandishes the edge of the blade, hell-bent on protecting and controlling Muto from Duck. You could probably infer it for yourself, but we see Princess Crahy attempt to win over Muto and tells him to give the heart shards to the crows, another corvid like the raven, the big bad guy from the fairy tale, showcasing her allegiance to the raven whom the prince once battled. Fakir comes in to stop her and they win back the shard. Fakir now takes more of like an anti-hero role. He also wants Muto's heart shattered again, but now that Muto can think for himself, he's able to argue on behalf of himself. You know, he's not just a walking husk of zombie. The only question is, if Fakir is against the Raven, then why does he still want Muto's heart shattered? Besides the allusion to Romeo and Juliet, of course. Muto decides not to shatter his heart, and Fakir seemingly just respects his choice, and Muto looks to be developing feelings for Princess Tutu. And Duck is ashamed since she knows she's really the ugly duckling and can never truly, open up to Muto.
May those who accept their fate be granted happiness. May those who defy it be granted glory. The story is continuing. The story is alive.
Drosselmeyer, even though he's dead, seemingly is still writing the story that was never finished. Now, quite literally, the characters from his story have broken free from the pages and are now completing the story with every episode that progresses. Imagine this anime is written by Drosselmeyer. Several of these characters that we're seeing are directly related to the characters from the story Drosselmeyer wrote. The prince being the obvious one, but the others in ways that they seemingly aren't aware of. Strings are quite literally being pulled.
Princess Tutu will change everything. Muto will only grow more distant from me. I won't allow that to happen.
Then what do you plan to do about it?
What?
Who is the heroine of this story? Is it Princess Tutu, or is it Princess Crazy?
Fakir is starting to have a change of heart as well, and more importantly, is connecting the dots.
The Lohengrin's sword. I have to protect Muto from the crows now. The legend you told me about as a child is swiftly becoming reality. This means that I am the knight from the story reborn.
Fittingly, Lohengrin was a chivalrous knight who mysteriously arrives to rescue Elsa, a woman in distress, and subsequently marries her under the condition that she never inquire about his origins. It's from an opera by Wagner. It's German. Wagner. It's Wagner. Fakir was never from a fairy tale directly. He grew up learning that he was the incarnation of a knight and took it upon himself to protect Muto when they found him freshly injured from escaping the fairy tale. The reason he's obsessed with keeping him safe is because the prince's instinct to protect the helpless was present regardless of his heart not being there. Duck now sees that Fakir isn't actually a bad person. He does know that if he follows this path, he'll also meet a tragic ending like Duck, but he's still willing to do it. Fakir and Duck finally have a one-on-one, and Fakir tells her that he isn't going to try to stop Muto's heart from being completed. He understands that the fairy tale story can't be stopped now. He was trying to prevent future events from unfolding. He didn't want the fairy tale to be completed because it will end in a tragedy. I think Rue is the most interesting character. She's the one that's really introducing darker themes into the story, and her motivations are self-conflicting. She's more obsessed with Muto and will do anything she can to control him in order to keep him close. Muto gives Duck a necklace that he doesn't realize is cursed by Rue. It traps Princess Tutu and prevents any heart shard from entering Muto. She literally steals Muto's ability to feel love, and Krehi now knows that Duck is Princess Tutu. But then again, she didn't really do a great job to conceal her identity, so it was only a matter of time. And Fakir is becoming a little useless because he keeps panicking about his fate of being killed. The dude just can't commit.
Have you regressed to the doll you used to be? Because I withdrew that piece of your heart? If that's true, then fine. If you're going to love someone else, better for you not to love any. Prince has no need of two princesses. Right, Herr Drosselmeyer?
What? Impossible! Did I just hear her call my name?
Yeah, what's the point of Drosselmeyer now? I know he's important, like, thematically and overarchingly, but he isn't really doing anything other than the equivalent of like a bad mystery science theater. He doesn't really do much to directly intervene or guide the plot. I'm assuming he'll be relevant. He is relevant eventually, but in the meantime, he's like the worst part of the show. It's a little cathartic having Rue call him out. They eventually find Muto, and now under the influence of Rue, he starts telling a different version of the Prince and the Raven, saying that the prince was the one who shattered his own heart. And it's difficult to tell which version of the story is true, but it is true. He is the one that shattered his own heart. So we know Fakir has a character arc, and that's committing to his own cause. Muto sort of has one, but Duck has just kind of been going along with blindly helping a boy that she's infatuated with. She's only now asking herself why she wants to help Muto. What is it about him that draws her to him? And in order to show a level of growth, Duck gives Fakir her amulet, turning back into Duck, revealing her secret. And she helps them find a way out of the trap they've been caught in. Fakir, clearly embarrassed that the Duck he befriended was actually the girl, Duck, has to learn to trust her regardless.
A Duck is Princess Tutu, huh? When I was reading The Prince and the Raven to Muto, the thing that he showed the strongest interest in was neither what happened to himself nor the Raven, but what happened to Tutu. He wanted to hear over and over again the part where Tutu turns into a speck of light and then vanishes.
Rue tells Princess Tutu that if she doesn't confess her love and complete her tragedy, that of which is if she confesses her love to the prince, she will turn into a beam of light and vanish and disappear. Then if she doesn't do this, then she's just gonna destroy Muto's love shard and the prince will never have a heart again. Princess Tutu is just about to give in and confess her love and complete her tragedy, but Fakir tells her to stop. He steps up and decides he'll truly commit to the cause, and he'll fight Rue in order to save Muto's love shard, accepting his trust in Tutu, even if it means he'll die, just as his fate says he will. Managing to subvert his fate, he manages to reach Muto, and he decides to destroy the prince's sword, and then he supposedly dies, or maybe just faints, or who knows at this point. In classic ballet fashion, Tutu plans to convey her love by dancing. That way, she won't vanish and still hopefully win this struggle. So Rue says, okay, let's throw down, and jumps into a dual dance, a pirouette throwdown. Jujutsu Kaisen ain't got nothing on this. Oh man, I can really feel my blood pumping. Tutu specifically dances a duet by herself, showcasing that she needs a second person, hint hint, Muto, and that's how she's conveying the message. Not just, Rue spamming the spin button all the time, come on. And it seems to work as Muto begins to move toward her, his hand stretched out to her. Tutu manages to win and work her way around her tragic fate. Muto receives his shard of love, and they just leave Fakir. Fakir was still there somewhere. Guys, what the hell? Oh, don't worry, he's randomly teleported out of the cave and is alive.
It was merely a simple puppet, mimicking the actions of humans with emotions.
Just like a nobody. Organization 13? You thought everything was fine, but you'd be wrong. Muto's heart shard was also corrupted by Rue's magic. Now he's slowly turning into an evil version of himself. Rue, now working directly with the Raven, don't know where he's been. Plans on just making Muto just as twisted as they are so that he'll fancy Rue instead. Easy peasy, and they'll marry and he'll be happy and everything will be good. Just to mess with him, Muto jumps out the window. Obviously, Princess Tutu saves him, but now everyone thinks Fakir pushed him out of the window. This leads to pretty much nothing other than to display that he's messed up in the mind now.
In order to break the seal to release me, we have to find the rest of the prince's heart shards. We need Princess Tutu's power to do that.
Oh, so that's why the prince shattered his heart. That makes all sense now. Yeah, cool. Both Rue and Duck are very similar. Rue is actually a crow, just like how Duck is actually a duck. And so both vie for the prince's affection in just the same way. So Muto is really just going around and magically rizzing up a bunch of girls, and Tutu stops him because he's also manipulating them to do bad stuff, like hating other people. And, well, that's really it. The puppet woman that wasn't really important to the story was burned up, and Fakir's dad used what wasn't burned to make this tiny drummer girl, Usuda. Hopefully, she actually contributes to the plot. She does a little bit. Adel was tragic. The other person that was previous to this person was this one. But forgive me if I say that her purpose or meaning in the story is kind of lost on me. Fakir knows that Rue tainted Muto's heart shard with raven blood, and Rue says that if they tell Duck, then she'll suffer. So Fakir doesn't tell her what happened. What? Why? Yeah, I'm sure she'll be bummed, but Muto is also just going around being evil. Is it really fine? How would telling her what's going on not make her feel better?
Love shines most beautifully when you feel so strongly that you would give up your life for that person, doesn't it?
Love cannot keep shining forever on that feeling alone. You can't marry on that feeling alone.
I love how their teacher, even though he's desperate to get someone to marry him, including children, drops some great wisdom for them every now and then. The anime focuses a lot on all the different aspects of love. You have obsessive love, like with Rue, protective and familial love, like with Fakir, infatuation with all the other students that are constantly pining for Muto's affection, and Tutu, who is supposed to be the acceptance of the actual person, who, regardless of her being a duck, will still be worthy of love. A chosen love rather than an earned love. Not just that, it's an exploration of people who want to be loved. How there's like this piece missing in our lives that is only really filled by the love of someone else. How we crave to be seen and how far we'll go in order to attain that feeling. But it also shows the abusive aspect of love, that being the Raven. How people can loom their love over someone else and be willing to withdraw it for selfish reasons. Or how people will force the love out of someone else because it's so desperately needed. Love is a commodity it's bountiful in supply, and yet it's so hard to actually attain. After defeating a wayward knight that's not super important, Muto's last heart shard was returned, except not really, they just say that, but that's not true. Drosselmeyer interrupts time and tells Duck that he has all the shards now, but also doesn't. Thanks. According to you guys, the town this story takes place in, Gold Crown Town, is drawn almost exactly like Nordlingen in Germany, which is also the town Attack on Titan is based off of.
Real love, is it? Don't make me laugh. Everyone just wants to be loved, that's all. I'm going to feed the foolish raven a meal, that's all, as a small token of my gratitude for helping to awaken me.
Fakir's mom, or not mom, tells Duck that Fakir used to write several stories when he was a child, and the stories actually came true, similar to Drosselmeyer. Fakir hasn't written a story ever since deciding to protect Muto.
She said stories you write have the power to come true. And you write a story where Muto gets saved in the end. Fakir?
Yet turns out not everything in his stories come true, and he ended up inadvertently getting his mom killed, so now he's triggered by fairy tales. A confrontation with Muto later. Muto shows that his true self is still alive somewhere deep inside, and then he runs away. Now Fakir is ready to confront his powers and attempt to use them to help those around him. Fakir meets this weirdo named Altor, or however you say his name, who conveniently knows everything about how Fakir can write stories that come to life and explains that he's a descendant of Drosselmeyer. Thus, he has this power. And several copies of fairy tales have their endings removed in the library because people wanted to stop his stories from becoming real. And he kind of blackmails him into doing whatever he wants in exchange for helping him attain more of Drosselmeyer's power. Also, there's a Houdini. Houdini! I'm joking. I know they're called Ewoks.
A direct descendant of Drosselmeyer's? And this is your level? A direct descendant of Drosselmeyer.
This is a bad way to introduce all this information. I know this kid was like in the background the entire time and like telling them to shut up while he's reading in the library, and it's like kind of comes full circle. But like some random kid decided to randomly look into Drosselmeyer for pretty much no reason other than to add this twist. It's so unrealistic that it really shows they didn't have a solid plan for like the second half of this anime. Time for some ancient tail spinner ritual where you touch a rock and then you trip really hard. Like so hard it actually becomes real and you turn into a tree. Do they have a similar ritual for tail chasers? Because I think I'd like to try that one out. Tutu using her interpretive dance to fight the acid trip while Fakir is kind of just learning the secrets of the universe. Also, can I just say, there's a lot of naked children in this show. I work around it in editing the video, and I understand it's supposed to represent like the purity of the soul and stuff, but dang, am I glad we moved away from this. Fakir is apparently chosen, successful in the ritual, and now he's okay, I guess. I'm kind of lost on what this actually really achieved in the long run, but you know, he did a thing. I think the most on-character aspect of Duck is that she still sees Rue as the true person and Princess Krehi as the false other. And she constantly tries to convince her that Rue is her true self, while Rue is perpetually fighting that notion since she doesn't like the idea of being disempowered. Princess Krehi is more of a comfort for her than anything else.
Deciding there's no way you can do something is nothing more than a way of comforting yourself when you lack motivation. Are you positive you're not fooling yourself about how you feel? About what is exactly the most important thing to you in the whole world?
Once again, this cat is just spitting knowledge.
So if perchance this dream you've been suppressing far too long is to marry me, and your heart isn't...
Oh yeah, he never stops trying to marry anybody he can. What fairy tale is this guy from? The cat's elopement is the only thing I could find, and I'm not confident he's actually from this. Altor seems to be trying to join some secret society of bookkeepers led by Igor from the Persona series. I see he finally got that nose job. This is also the secret society that is sending out Houtinis to cut off people's hands if they write stories that come true. Now they want to cut off Fakir's hands. Don't know why they didn't just kill Drosselmeyer, but then again, they wouldn't be able to form their little evil book club, so I guess I get it. Also, they're the ones who rip out the endings of the stories in the books in the library.
Come on, open up!
So this is Gold Crown Town.
It was like they just suddenly appeared there.
A story's birth is a sudden event.
Yes, this town is most likely controlled by stories. Yet we are unable to realize this fact.
Oh, I guess that explains why they have a random ballet school and literally nothing else. Duck finds out a heart shard is at the gate of town, or is the gates of the town, or is the town, it is and also they literally can't escape the town. Above the wall is another wall. Tutu saves Fakir from getting his hands Houtini'd. Drosselmeyer starts messing with reality from beyond the veil and kidnaps Tutu, which I guess he's always been able to do this whole time. Altor says, hey, the story says I fall in love with you. So I'm in love with you. Do you want me to sacrifice my heart to the raven? And Rue says, lol, that's a load of BS. Go away. The whole town is apparently a device created by Drosselmeyer to continue making stories. And they figure out the actual enemy isn't the raven, but it's Drosselmeyer. So it's time to figure out how to kill God. And Fakir becomes main character Coon. Tutu is trapped in CGI Clock World. Oh, but don't worry. Green hair puppet girl actually jumped in with her. How? Why? Because we said so. Shut up, don't ask questions. Well, now Rue isn't really all that interesting anymore. This kind of throws away like half of what we were working toward. Usuda isn't controlled by Drosselmeyer, technically, so she just starts getting the story going again.
Interesting. The gears are starting to turn backward. The story will now double back on itself.
We finally see why Rue loves Muto. He saved her from her father when she was little. Yeah, pretty typical. Not really much of a reveal. What is cool is that we find out Rue isn't actually the daughter of the Raven. She was just kidnapped. And since her story is rewinding, she's seeing her past. And Muto is now a Raven monster because of the Raven blood in his heart shard. Tutu and Fakir spiritually team up, I think. And Fakir finds the power to write, but he's not actually writing his own story.
I want to leave this place!
Her feelings for Muto are spilling up through my hand and out onto the page.
And he just writes that he calls out her name and brings her out, and also Usuda, I guess, and they're okay now. Duck tells Rue that the 5 town gates has the last heart shards that are sealing away the Raven, which means if they fix Muto, then they also release the Raven, and Muto will give the Raven his heart, and Rue is begging Duck to just not do anything. Then Duck sees the ghost of Adel, and she tells her that Duck's pendant is the last heart shard. Like, that is also a heart shard. That's why she can seek out heart shards, because she's got a heart shard. Duck says, nah, this is what Muto would want, and then gets the last heart shards all in one go. The Raven gets released. Rue finally stands up to her abusive dad.
Don't eat the prince's heart! Let him go and eat my heart instead! I have ever since I was little! I've always loved you!
Then they kidnap Rue. I'm gonna break that down for you a little bit more. Tutu was supposed to be the one that tells Muto that she loves him. But that didn't happen. Instead, it was Rue. Therefore, Rue technically saved Muto and Tutu at the same time. And at the same time, Rue has only ever wanted love. But she's never, like, properly given back that love. It's always been selfish. This was the first time she's ever told Muto to his face that she loves him. It's the first time she's ever expressed a selfless form of love. Muto tells Tutu that Rue's love only led to her suffering, and yet chose to never stop loving. And so Muto chooses to take Rue as his princess, and Duck returns the last heart shard, except she can't really take it off. Without the prince's heart complete, the Raven can't gain eternal life from it, and the prince can't become whole, so the Raven just traps Muto and gives her a deadline. The only one who can really help is Fakir, and Drosselmeyer pays him a visit, and he actually gives him advice, saying that you can't logic the end of the story, it needs to come from the heart. He needs to feel the ending rather than think of an ending. And through Fakir, Drosselmeyer writes more of the story. Speaking to Duck, he tells her that the only way to give the pendant to Muto is to give up her life. Fakir refuses to let that happen and stabs his own hand to make it stop writing. Fakir goes to save Duck from drowning herself, and Fakir now can't figure out what he's doing. That's from his own will or just like another part of Drosselmeyer's story. Duck is afraid to give up the pendant because she doesn't want to lose Muto.
But it just won't come off. All this is my fault. Because I'm thinking that deep inside my heart, I don't want the story to ever end.
And Fakir says, yeah, listen, this is scary. It's all scary. This sucks. It's easy just falling into place and doing what you're told, but it's worth it if they regain their agency and their free will, even if she turns back into a duck. I mean, is that really so bad? And Fakir promises if she turns back into a duck, then he'll stay by her side. With finally accepting those words, the pendant releases from her neck, and then they start falling even further into despair because of that wad Drosselmeyer. Fakir says, nuh-uh, and they follow Usuda's drum beat, like finally living to the beat of their own drum. Finally, she returns the final heart shard. Princess Tutu transforms back into a duck, and Muto finally sees her true form and bows to her in thanks. Muto's true form is revealed, and he summons his sword to face against the Raven. Duck figures that even though she's just a duck, she can still dance, and Fakir can help write some aspects of the story to help Duck influence the battle. So Fakir writes that Duck's dance is so filled with emotion, it sways the Raven-cursed people of the town, rendering the Raven's army immobile. But the Houtinis want to cut off Fakir's hands.
The duck stood up. No matter how much pain she was suffering, the duck would not stop her dancing. She willed herself to keep dancing because it was the only thing she could do as she was now.
If the Raven wants to drag people into despair, then the power that Duck has is to draw out the hope in people, shifting the story away from a tragedy, and Muto's voice manages to reach Rue inside the Raven, dragging out of the bowels of despair. Together, they rise towards the Raven's heart and destroy him from the inside, finally ending the never-ending tragedy.
What's this?
Everything that happened in Gold Crown Town. This thing was recording as a story.
Fakir, what are you doing?
I will write the rest.
What?
So the prince returned to his story with Rue as his princess, while Fakir and Duck stayed in Gold Crown Town to write a happy ending for them.
What if it happens that all this time I've been a character in someone's story too?
Okay, let me break down my thoughts. First, that ending was really good. I mean, was it the most mind-boggling, amazing ending I've ever seen in all of anime? No, but like, for what they're trying to do here, it was pretty good. We explored themes of like love, despair, hope, and the balance between, you know, like tragedy and comedy. Also, for those of you who didn't pay attention in English class, like Shakespearean literature is usually broken down into tragedies and comedies. Comedies aren't necessarily funny. Comedies are basically everything that isn't a tragedy. Pretty much everything was a tragedy, and if it wasn't, it was a comedy. Comedy didn't really have the same definition as we do have now. So if you're a fan of ballet, fairy tales, classic literature, or even just like classic literature, or even just like literary concepts, it is an incredibly rewarding anime to watch. Now, that being said, there was a lot of low points to it. Like, you could cut out a lot of the story. I'd argue that you could cut out a large portion of the story and it would only be better off for it. Especially since the first several episodes really just served as setting a tone that was not at all the tone of the rest of the anime, and it just served as like a shocking tonal shift, like juxtaposition between the two of them. And you can accomplish that without, what, 4, 5, 6 episodes of kind of nothing happening. And the second half, where Muto was cursed by the Raven's blood, also really had a lot of fat that needed to be trimmed. It felt like the second half was not nearly as strong as the first half. This is one of those anime that has so much potential for a modern remake. It's got a really great concept, if I'm gonna be honest. It pulls from so many different sources and creates something unique all in and of itself. Now, that being said, I don't think it would be successful, because I don't think enough people would actually appreciate what it's trying to do. I also feel like that's why right now Princess Tutu is more of like an underground classic. Some people just don't care, especially since, you know, we have like, what, ChatGPT lowering the IQ of everyone across the board that uses it. Because, you know, we live in a society that doesn't like to think anymore. People just want something that's entertaining. Not a lot of people want something that's thought-provoking. Nowadays, you kind of have to trick the audience into something thought-provoking. Like, it's entertaining at first, and then, like, it gets into heavier stuff until you realize, oh, it's making me think. Oh no, you've tricked me. Media, how dare you? And given that several parts of Princess Tutu were, I'm gonna say it, really boring, it failed carrying people's attention to a legitimately really wonderful ending. Even if it did end up just being another, you know, a hope fixes everything kind of ending, which, you know, we've seen a million times. It's very outdated. It's very, you know, we roll our eyes at it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad on its own. Watching Princess Tutu felt a lot like assigned reading from school. It's one of those anime you never would really watch on your own unless someone else told you to do it. And you would appreciate having read it, like, you know, it's a lot of those classic books that were kind of a slog to read through. But I think we all can generally agree we're better off having read those stories. Or maybe you stumble upon this anime in just the right time of your life to where it just hooks you in just the right way, and then you just latches onto your brain, which I'm guessing is what a lot of you experienced. Great concept, room for improvement, and overall, greatly underappreciated anime. The people who made this show did their research on ballet, and the DVDs include extras to teach the basics. They weave in themes and motifs, not just from ballet stories, but also just the way real productions and shows are felt and experienced. Isabella and I went to a chocolate shop and I wanted to try chocolate-covered Twinkies.
Oh, wow. There's layers. There's like chocolate, and then crunchy, and then it gets to the creaminess, and it all just blends together. It works so good.
Afterward, we had tickets to see the Book of Mormon at the Fox Theater in Atlanta. Dang, that venue is pretty. It had stars on the ceiling and everything. Now, if you don't know what Book of Mormon is about, well, it's written by the same guys that wrote South Park. It's both kind of showing the good aspects that religion can bring, while also heavily showcasing how utterly ridiculous Mormonism is, and it's so funny. I am certain there were so many people in that audience, they looked pissed. They went in there thinking that it was just another religion good, love Jesus sort of story, and they got, hey, you guys are not thinking. They literally have a song where it's the main chorus is, what, we're Mormons. We just believe stuff. I got a new tattoo. I went to Portal Tattoo Gallery in Woodstock and was tattooed by Bryna. This Baphomet tattoo took 2 sessions and I'm so dang happy with it. Bryna is also just like a super chill person, so check her out on Instagram if you want to get tattooed by her. You can even see my tattoo on her Instagram. Wow. And it's currently in the peeling stage. Everybody who gets tattoos know that that's just the best stage. Love that part. I want to be pretty heavily tattooed as I grow older. I can't say grow up, I am grown up. As I grow older, and so I really save up for getting like the really big pieces. I don't really care for getting like a bunch of small ones. Like, I want just one big one, and I think in the long run, I'm saving money if I just go for like one big one instead of like a million small ones. I plan to have my right arm dedicated to just like Halloween. I'm gonna have Scary Godmother right here. I'm gonna have Ruby Gloom down here, and then I'm gonna have like jack-o'-lanterns and stuff, and I need to figure out the rest. I don't even know what to do for the inside of this arm. I'm gonna add some more flowers, that's for sure. Special thanks to my patrons for making this channel possible. Check out my Patreon for monthly stickers and getting to watch my videos before they go public. If you watched all the way to the end, comment down below. Negative, you got like everything factually incorrect. Just because I think it's funny to confuse people that don't watch the video all the way through. Stay beautiful and keep playing.